Exodus 11:1-10. Exodus 11:1-10. NKJV. And the Lord said to Moses, I will bring one more plague on Pharaoh and on Egypt. Afterward he will let you go from here. When he lets you go, he will surely drive you out of here altogether. Speak now in the hearing of the people, and let every man ask from his neighbor and every woman from her neighbor, articles of silver and articles of gold. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Moreover, the man Moses was very great in the land of Egypt in the sight of Pharaoh's servants and in the sight of the people. Then Moses said, Thus says the Lord, about midnight I will go out into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sits on his throne, even to the firstborn of the female servant who is behind the handmill, and all the firstborn of the animals. Then there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as was not like it before, nor shall be like it again. But against none of the children of Israel shall a dog move its tongue, against man or beast, that you may know that the Lord does make a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. And all these your servants shall come down to me and bow down to me, saying, Get out, and all the people who follow you. After that I will go out. Then he went out from Pharaoh in great anger. But the Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh will not heed you, so that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. So Moses and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh, and the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he did not let the children of Israel go out of his land. UCG Bible Commentary, Exodus 10:21-11:10. Note, following remainder of recording is a reading of the commentary read also on the prior day. Darkness and warning of the final plague. Final plagues and plundering the Egyptians. Darkness. Here is a plague that lasted for 3 days. People could not even leave their homes due to the impact of this event. Comparable to being in a dark closet with even the cracks around the door being covered, this was a major attack on the credibility of the Egyptian sun god, known variously as Re, Ra, Atum, Aten, and sometimes Horus. Indeed, though the Egyptians worshipped many gods, none was worshipped as much as the sun. Consider too that as much as eclipses were feared in the ancient world, this 3-day darkness must have been terrifying beyond belief. Once again, it did not affect the Israelites living in Goshen. Pharaoh again attempts to make a deal by keeping the animals of the Israelites that were not affected by the plagues in Egypt. After all, the food supply of the Egyptians was now at a critical stage, so to him it was not really an unreasonable demand. But before God, Pharaoh was in no position to be making demands. Yet he was angry, to the point of threatening Moses with death if he would not get out of his sight. Son, my firstborn, so I say to you, let my son go that he may serve me. But if you refuse to let him go, indeed I will kill your son, your firstborn. Verses 22-23. Moreover, in killing the firstborn of the animals too, God was again showing his supremacy over the gods of Egypt. For I will strike all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt he will execute judgment. I am the Lord. Exodus 12:12. There would be no doubt left among the Egyptians that the God of Israel was indeed the true God. Besides the many and varied animal deities, God's action directly challenged Osiris, the giver and ruler of life. Furthermore, in the end, this plague would accomplish the breaking of Egypt and force Pharaoh to at last release the Israelites. This forcing of Pharaoh to act against his will would demonstrate God's overthrow of his sovereignty and of the gods who represented it. Hu, the god personifying royal authority; Wajet, the goddess of royal authority; Sobek, the god epitomizing the might of the pharaohs; Ma'at, goddess of cosmic order under whose aegis the rulers of Egypt governed; and the war goddess Sekhmet, who would supposedly breathe fire against the enemies of the pharaoh. God would of course prove himself victorious over them all, and over Pharaoh too, who, as mentioned earlier, was himself regarded as the divine incarnation of Horus. Even at the announcement of this warning, Moses and the Israelites were respected throughout the land because of the miraculous events that had taken place. And not just respected. As the Nelson Study Bible notes on Exodus 11:3, another remarkable component of the Exodus was the Egyptians' favor or grace toward the Hebrews and admiration for their leader. After all that had happened, we might expect the opposite. But the positive feelings for Moses were shared, amazingly enough, even by Pharaoh's servants. This too is a part of the wit and irony of this great victory the Lord had won over his enemy Pharaoh, who represents evil, sin, ungodliness, and even Satan. See Revelation 15:3. God told the Israelites to ask the Egyptians for silver and gold items, in effect, compensation for their years of slave labor. And after all the Egyptians had witnessed, they were not about to complain. But Pharaoh's heart was still hardened, even threatening Moses' life as already mentioned. Moses then, having delivered the final warning, at last storms out in anger. Exodus 11:8. This would be the final confrontation between the two. Compare Exodus 10:29. Supplementary reading, Archaeology in the Book of Exodus, Exit from Egypt, Good News Magazine, March-April 1997 pp. 22-24.